Illumination, illumination, 1111. That's what it meant. You don't add the 1 and the 1 to get a 2. For 11 is the master number. And then you see it twice for emphasis. It foretold, dear ones, for years of the 1111 illumination shift that is upon you. Light will win. You can see now why 1111 was only on the clocks so much before the shift and not necessarily afterwards. Not many of you are seeing 1111 anymore. And if you do, it's just a reminder that you're in the shift that was foretold. Now, the odd thing about master numbers is that they're only identified to 33. What a coincidence, is it not? That this is the active number of your DNA. 44 is unknown. 55 and beyond will not be understandable. And what the Tibetans said about that is that when your DNA, they didn't say DNA, they said consciousness reaches a certain point of understanding, the master numbers past 33 can be identified. In other words, they contain concepts which are beyond your understanding at the moment, and it's not science. It's compassionate action. It's behavior that you haven't seen yet. It's mastery. It talks about mastery that you don't have yet, and so it's undefined. 33 is defined as the compassion of the master. The highest compassion that is known to exist in humanity is a 33. What did you think when the 33 miners came out of the ground in Chile? Did you know that those who reported it said there were 33s everywhere? Not just the number of the miners, the times of days when they arrived, the numbers of drilling scenarios. It went on and on. 33 was everywhere. And those who studied numerology knew what was going to happen, that they would all come out of the ground completely and totally healthy and safe, that there would be celebration and joy and tears. The compassion of the Master was there. Even before the drilling began, you could see it coming. You could feel it. They're going to find him. They're going to be okay. And they were. Do you see how some numerology targets the energy of what's going to take place? The precession of the equinoxes is a 26,000-year wobble of the earth. That is an 8. Because the wobble of the earth is not what we're talking about. It's what happens if you make it past the center point. December 21, 2012. It is the story of manifestation. The abundance that is manifested with that 26,000-year wobble is the earth going into graduate status, into mastery, into DNA, which is going to start to arrive at a higher rate. You're in it. You passed it. It's been manifested. That's why it's 26,000. Did you ever put these numbers together? There's no accidents here. The precession of the equinox itself, the time it takes for this wobble to change the sky as it walks through the Milky Way, is 36 years. 9. Stand by for the 9s. For the precession of the equinoxes yells 9, 9, 9, 9. It's the end of the old, the beginning of the new. 18 years into it, 9. 18 years out of it, 9. The 9s are king when it comes to the shift. And it says over and over, the old is going away. Everything you thought was the value you might have as a human is going to change, and it's going to be greater than you ever conceived it would be. The love of God is going to pour through your consciousness someday. Babies are going to be born and know who they are. There's going to be a consciousness on the planet above 44, even 55, which you will start to actually have the attributes of mastery. You might even master time, maybe even life itself. Physics will start to be that which you can manipulate. Dear ones, this is high consciousness, and you've seen it in the masters. It's going to take a long time. The ones who seeded you went through this exact same thing. They didn't have a precession. They didn't have a wobble of their planet. They had another scenario completely, but it was from the stars. And it had to do with suns that were close to them coming together in a certain way. And when they did, and they only did, in thousands of years apart, something happened, and they made the shift. The same shift you did. And their consciousness started to shift and change. Their history was worse than yours. We have said this before. You think you've had marginal genocide with the wars that you've had and the sorrow that you'd suffer. They had full genocide. And yet they recovered completely from it. The ones who seeded you, dear ones, have gone through it more than you did. How long did it take them from their precession, from their shift, to where they could seed you? I'm not even willing to tell you how long it is, because you'll be depressed. To think that you might have to be there as long. Dear ones, I want you to change your attitude of time. You measure time by how long you live. That's how you measure it. You look at a lifespan, and it has an energy from the number of years. What if I told you that's not accurate, because you are eternal. You will always be here. Lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, and you'll start awakening in lives that are remembering while you're here. The next time you come, yes, you're coming back. Did you hear me? The next time you come, you'll awaken with the knowledge you're not going to make the mistakes you did this time. This is the old soul moving into an energy that's different. It'll be the first time you awakened in the energy after the shift. First time. And it'll be much different than when you awakened the last time. That is to say, when you were born, there was one energy of birth. And from this time forward, when you're born, there'll be another energy. You are going to know you're an old soul. You're going to have the wisdom not to make the mistakes you made this time. People will see you as different. Children are starting to shift even now. And they're going to shift so much and so fast, you'll say there's a day when all of them will be prodigies as you measure them today. It's simply growing up. Instead of being in the playground, now you're in a situation where you see each other and you enjoy each other. What happens when you grow up? This is what happens when you grow up. From 8 to 18, you come alive socially, and you're so different. That's what's happening to humanity. You won't go to war, and you won't kill another human being because you know them. They won't be mysterious. They won't be anything that you would terminate as a solution to a puzzle. And you will look back on that very thing and you'll say, that's barbaric to the max. And you'd never consider it. So far out of the consciousness of terminating any life. That's who you're going to be. The 9 that represents the whole wobble, 26 years, the manifestation, culminating into the 9s that you see now, is the end of an old kind of civilization. Everything you've ever been, human being, has happened in the last 26,000 years. You've always been in the energy of the wobble as it exists now. The new wobble has begun. You see, it continues to wobble, except this wobbles differently with a brand new number. Dear ones, I want you now to look upon the year you're in, 2016. What a coincidence. It's a 9. There's 9s everywhere. Now what does this 9 mean? It means that the recalibration energy that took place in 2012 is at an end. That the frustration of trying to find a new frequency to tune into, because the shift has created that is going away. It means that the sun is coming out in so many of your lives. And the astrology that was given today enhances this. It speaks of the identical same thing that the numerology does. Next year is a 1. Now the cycle of years will create that. There will be many 9s and 1s together. But we're talking about right now, a 9. It represents tremendous change as well, because anytime you wrap something up and you change a paradigm and move into something else, you'll find some emanations of a 5. Perhaps yet to be seen, but you'll see it in the astrology. All this about numbers. Who are you right now? That you could then look at this and make some sense of it. And I close with this. Everything that's happening numerologically right now has come to fruition and is painting a picture of new beginnings. You may sit in a puzzle right now that you do not see your way out of. And I'm going to give you some advice. You are sitting in a few days in an energy of the One that shouts to you new beginnings. Even if you are beyond that which is cheerful, even though perhaps you cannot even find the joy factor inside you, I want you to build an altar of joy, physical or mental. And I want you to go to that altar and thank Spirit for what is going to take place and is taking place in your heart, your mind, and your life. And if you do that, you will be sending a magic signal that cooperates with the planet, with the field, with the numerology of the year, and all those things. It'll see your intent, and things begin to shift. This is the beauty of a physics that knows who you are. This is the beauty of a creator who created the physics and knows who you are. You see, they're related. You get that, don't you? Everything is related to everything else. Watch for synchronicities when you start to do this. If you wallow in the old, dear ones, nothing will happen differently. Did you hear that? If you wallow in the old, nothing will happen differently. And you will continue on the same path with the same issues, going in the same direction. The altar is the altar of joy. It's the inner child inside that awakens happy. And it is innocent of the things around them that could harm them. But it's not innocence in your case, it's wisdom that can steer around them, that can actually change your own chemistry, that can build things that are going to be good for you. Extended life and the end of fear. Extended life and the end of fear. Can you believe that for you, listener? Can you believe that for you? I want you to build that altar. Do it on January 1st. Do you want to make it physical because you've got somebody with you who won't let you do it? Doesn't matter. Make it mental. Put the candles where you want them. Light them as you would, and make each one of them something special that you are achieving. But mainly, it's the joy of compassionate action on this planet. You're seeing God at work. You're seeing you at work. And things will change because numerology and the energies that are starting to occur that are similar to numerology and the field and all of that is now starting to collect into a big six. Do you remember what the six was? Tell me what the six was. Harmony. The big six is on its way. This is you in harmony with the planet. There are some new numbers you're going to see on the clock, and they will mean something to you. But they're not going to be global anymore. They're going to be just for you. You're going to start seeing numbers over and over that are just for you, and somebody else will have different numbers. Numerology is starting even to become more advanced, more intuitive. It'll tell you stories and paint pictures because it's the energy of the planet. This is who you are. Don't take this channel lightly. Oh, dear ones, because you're moving in to a new beginning from lots of nines, completing the old way. See it perhaps even going into a trash can, a rubbish bin. Don't have anything to do with it. See it as brand new. The canvas is blank, and you're going to build an altar and celebrate the joy that's coming. Could it be any clearer? As usual, these particular channels, if heard by those who have no understanding, will be laughed at, made fun of. And those who do that are not in judgment from us, because God is in them as well. There's different levels of awakening. Old souls, you've been here so long, you know how things work. That's who we're talking to. And those who don't see this, they'll have their turn. And perhaps they're just new on the planet. They're not buying into any of these things. They're just not ready. When you were children in school, and you were in the last grade of the school, the ones just entering, didn't know anything, and you knew so much. It is no different than that. There is no judgment of those who would walk away and laugh and call you names. Because your intuition and your wisdom says this is real. All of this is real. And then there are those who say, I want to be part of it. And when you say that, you cognize it, and you are part of it. Welcome to a new planet Earth, where these energies can contribute into the harmony of your life. That's it for now. And so it is.
Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. And it took my partner a long time to understand the process that you see now. And in certain ways you have rehearsed the process. For even in the small exercise you have just accomplished, you take that which is the first intuitive thought, and you translate it as best you can into a linear concept or sentence or group of words or word. And many times it is metaphoric, and this is common. A puzzle that must be solved, an image that must be interpreted, even words that don't make sense, that will mean other things in other languages. And this is very, very normal. Spirit speaks to humanity one at a time and never in a group, if you've noticed. As this message is given to the group, it's not for the group. It's for each and individual soul in the room. An overlay of that, which is quantum, is metaphoric, the third language. Now, the third language is intuition, which rides upon the signal, if you wish, of the communication that you have accepted to hear in the room. Not on the audio, but the fact that you are tuned in with intent. And so every single channeling has an attribute of more than one communication. Some will hear the same words and feel the same energies and walk away feeling nothing happen. Another human sitting next to them will have the healing that they asked for. And so it's never a group energy. And that is why I speak to each one of you separately. It's complex. You tune in to the words, your logic understands the linearity of the syntax, and at the same time there are concepts being given to you through intuition. We call it the third language as a metaphor. For it is not the language that is after two. The third language is a language of the three. And the three, in numerological terms, is catalyst. So what would a language be that was catalytic? That would be an energy which changes something while it remains the same. As it comes in contact with something else, the something else changes while it remains stable. Therefore, you are receiving right now, at whatever level you wish to receive it, a catalytic message. And sometimes the message is simple. It's a safe place. You're with family. Or, this is real. The reality of the message, one of the biggest obstacles of a human being, is that the man in the chair pretending. Or is he doing what I think he is doing? And let me tell you what he's doing. Years it took him to understand the process and complement it with his energy. For in the beginning, when it was time for Kryon to come into this man's life, I came in with information that he called burst information. All at once, given to him as a thought group, as a concept, which he then had to interpret, but not in real time. That is to say, I would give him information, there would be a pause, and he would repeat what he thought he was. I would give him information, there would be a pause, and then he would repeat that, what he thought it was. So it was back and forth. And it was separate. And that is to say, there was Kryon and then there was Lee. Years later, up to 4, he started integrating that which was me and that which was him into a system that now flows. And let me tell you what the system is and how it works. I can feed him intuitive thought instantly. I can feed it to him faster than he can speak. And so the system goes like this. Channeling is the manifestation of translation of intuitive linearity. I have learned to slow down that which I wish the human beings to know to a pace that he can interpret in real time. And that was pretty good. Until about 4 years ago, when I asked him if he wanted to go to the next step. And he said, what step would that be? And I said, total integration. And that would be so that you could hear me. The love that I have for humanity, the compassion of the other side of the veil, and not just words. And so it was more than intuitive thought. It was concepts combined with a linear voice message, combined with the emotion of God, all in a package that was complex, that took him years to see and recognize and trust. So the words you hear now, he has no concept are coming until they are actually manifested in the air. It took him a long time. This is not what humans are used to. They want to know what's coming. They want the concepts at least to be presented in advance. And some of them are good at talking around concepts, so it becomes spirit and them. And that is also channeling. Some will take concepts and be able to channel around them with core information given to them at different points in their lecture channeling. That's valid channeling. Some will write it down. That's valid channeling. Some will paint a picture. And that's valid channeling. Some will compose music. It's beautiful. It touches your soul. And that's channeling. Some will have sculptures, and that's channeling. All the things which are creative on this planet, which fulfill a passion of delivery, of beauty to another human being, can be channeled. The healer who sits in front of the patient and receives the information from the patient's body, which we call innate, to them, allows them to channel the healing solution. They're channeling. When you face off with someone who is difficult, and you wish to have the right words that will show the love of God in you, and yet the sternness of truth, and you search your depth of language for the delivery, and then suddenly something comes out which is succinct and beautiful, and they have no words to reply because you have given them truth. And you will say, I wonder where that came from. That's channeling. And so when you face off in the groups, in this time, in this day, as you did, and you ask for a message for perhaps not only yourself, but for the others that you do not know, this exercise tests that which you feel uncomfortable with. For you are first faced with a social situation. What if I can't think of anything, you say? Will I appear to be a fool, you say? What if I look in their eyes and nothing comes across, you say? Well, I'll have something in reserve, perhaps, you say. I'll think of something wise to say in case I get nothing. And all of this is part of the process, and we know that. If you do this often enough, you learn to sit back and relax. And you don't think of anything in reserve. For you know that Spirit will give you something, and that something will be good enough. And you trust it. When my partner first began to work, he had concerns. What if he gathered an auditorium full of people and I did not show up. You don't think that occurred? What would he have in reserve? And he had to walk through this. And I let him. I let him think about it and worry about it until we integrated. And the best thing that ever happened to him is when he let go. When he let go of the concern, the worry, the embarrassment, the social necessity of survival, not to look bad. And that's when the intuition flew in. And that's when the portal opened up. That's when the pipeline gets bigger. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of the process of where it comes from. For you're told it, of course, originates in the brain. And it doesn't. For what you are experiencing, despite all the things that the psychologists will tell you, is not biological. And yet you are told that thought is processed and created by the brain in packages which they understand to be synapse, perhaps even going so far as to be called engrams of consciousness, carried in packets through nerves to present concepts that human beings have. Verbalized linearity, and whatever you want to call it. And it's none of those things. For these come from the outside in. Now, you might say, well, wait a minute, what happened to the higher self? So this begs a question. Where is the higher self? Well, you might say, it's inside me. What if it was you? What if it lurks, if you want to call that, in what is called innate? Now we get complex. For this is the quantum field around every single human being that knows all about the body. It knows more than the body does. Let me ask you this question yet again. Does it make sense to you that you could have disease in your body and the body doesn't know it? Isn't it supposed to be intelligent? Intelligent enough to know when it's diseased, what it can stand, what it cannot stand. And yet even the most basic premises of metaphysics has you doing kinesiology, which is muscle testing. And here is where you're asking innate, am I allergic to this? Can I have this? What is the dosage? Do I have a disease? Isn't it odd that that does not come from inside? Your immune system fights things, but it doesn't even know it has something to fight sometimes. You can have all the white blood vessels in your body rushing to one place to fight a cancer, and you don't even know you have cancer. Because your body doesn't tell you. There's a disconnect somewhere in there, you might say. Well, that disconnect is not designed to be a disconnect. You're supposed to be able to be in touch with innate. That is to say, that part of your body that is not biological. Very difficult to explain. Now it's integrated, but what good does it do to have integration when the innate is in the other room with the door shut? So what you're asking for is a full body experience to open the door and know the things that innate knows. There are some unanswered biological questions that at this day are not even being asked. 100 trillion molecules of DNA are identical in your body. Your big toe has the same DNA as the top of your head. It's not like your cellular structure, which knows whether it's a kidney or a fingernail. Your DNA is identical all over your body. There is a process where it communicates 100 trillion times, a quantity that communicates with itself and knows all about you. That's the DNA that we speak of. And in that there is consciousness. It's innate. You might say there's another you in there that you'd like to get in touch with. And you'd be right. We've spoken of the divine parts of you. And this is the intuitive generator. Innate is quantum. The field around you and your DNA is quantum. And that is to say, it is actually in a multi-dimensional state. Human intuition is that innate which often speaks to you when you least expect it. Channeling is tuning into it to the degree where innate is always working and becomes linear. Do you have help? Oh, yes. And this is the hardest thing we have ever taught. You want to think you have guides and angels. Well, go ahead and think it, if it makes you happy. Go ahead and name them, if it makes you happy. Go ahead and count them, if it makes you happy. For human beings need to often linearize quantum concepts in order for it to fall into an order where they can appreciate it and use it and understand it. The truth of the matter is, you cannot name them and you cannot count them. This is very difficult. We told you at one time, in the lineage of Kryon teaching, that you had 3 guides. That is a metaphor. Just like the third language is a metaphor. It's about the 3. Have you noticed the packages of 3 which are divine? Even the doctrines of earth, in the rigidness of the metaphors and the mythology of some of your religious practices, celebrate the 3. The Godhead is the 3 in one. You'll find it everywhere on the planet. It is part of divinity. It is seen in a trilogy of energies. You have 3 guides, not really. They are the energy of the 3. And the 3, again, is a catalytic number. In other words, whatever it is that you call help, that you believe is around you, catalyzes you and everything else around you in synchronicity. I told you this would not make a lot of sense. Some of you are getting it and some of you are not. Again, we turn to the soup. It is the only metaphor we have. If your life is a bowl of soup, count the flavor. Count the salt. You can't. But you know it's there. I call upon the salt, all 3 of them. You see? I call upon the flavor, which I happens to know are named Joe, Henry, and Mildred. And they're not, and you can't. Count love for me. How many loves do you have for your children? Do you see what I'm saying? Can you understand the concept? Is it too etheric for you? Or do you really need to see their faces? And if you could, what would they look like? What does the face of God look like? And I will again tell you this, if you could see their faces, it would be so confusing, because your face is theirs. And you would see you 3 times. The higher self is in every molecule of the soup. It is part of innate. It doesn't reside in your heart or your brain. It is outside of you and inside of you. It permeates you in a quantum field. You cannot locate it. It is higher than you are. And some will say, well, that means it's above me. Of course it's not inside me. That's incorrect. It's called the higher self because it vibrates higher than you do. Therefore, it is the part of you which is in a vibratory state which creates a multidimensional reality. If you could only open the door between the corporeal you and the quantum you, called the higher self, you would be complete. And that is the study, is it not? So here's what it comes down to. Do you have help? Yes. Are they guides and angels? If you wish. If you wish. It's more than that. They are a soup of energy which is partially you and partially the higher you. It is the divine. All divine things are connected to the source. The creative source of the universe is part of you. The connection is there. Do you have help? Yes. Where is it really coming from? Yes. You cannot identify a place. Well, there is heaven, is there not? If you wish. Or is it in every air molecule? Is it in the life of nature? Does it permeate Gaia? Is it everything you see? Is it light? Yes. It means you're never alone. Here's what the masters and the shamans know. Wherever I walk, I have help. They all have my face. They're beautiful. I am a piece of God. I am quantum. My guides are endless. I have help. My intuition comes from the creative source. I have help from the air, the animals, the trees, the dirt I walk on. Love permeates everything around me. It is part of innate. I do not ask where, for there is no where. I do not ask who, for the who is the one, and it is I. And it may not make sense, because it's not in 3D, but can you feel the beauty? Can you feel the compassion which created it? Most of all, can you feel it in you and use it? And that is the invitation. The day my partner gave up trying to figure it out is when it came in. Don't try to figure it out. If you're consumed with love for an animal, for a child, for another human being, do you stop and figure it out? Or do you simply verbalize it to everyone you know and the universe? I'm in love. And I'm happy about it. What else can you say? When you write love letters to one you're in love with, what do you say? What can you say? Not enough. Overwhelming it is. Quantum it is. A piece of God it is. What is the one thing an animal can feel that you can give it beyond food, nurturing, shelter? And that is love. And is it true or is it not true that they look in your eyes and love you back? And it is. It is a universal quantum energy that cannot be denied. It will tame the wild horse. And it's the only thing it will. It is palatable. It is beautiful. And it is quantum. And you don't try to figure that out, do you? So why don't you now apply this to yourself? I'm not going to figure out how many guides I have, what the angels look like, or whether they come and they go. I am connected to Spirit in a way where I never have to do that. Here's what my partner knows. As long as he keeps this portal clean, as long as he lives, when he sits in the chair, I'll be there. That's what he knows. And now before he channels, he doesn't worry about what it's going to be like, how long it's going to last, what the subject might be, or whether I'll be there. Do you see that? So the exercise you just did shows some things to you. I know who's here. I know what the thought processes are. Let it go. Best thing you can do before opening your mouth to another person where you have to say something succinct, correct, proper, beautiful, is to empty your mind of everything you might say. And then say whatever it is that comes to you. And that takes trust and faith, and that will be innate talking. A full body experience linked to your consciousness that will make a difference in your life. It's an advanced teaching for an advanced group who will sit in chairs today and ask the hard questions. And so what is it you'll do next? I hope you practice it. You're going to find something when you do. It works. A whole nother kind of thinking, a whole nother language. Trust. Don't try to figure it out. Just know you're never alone. And so it is.
Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. My partner steps aside, but he's still connected. We have said it before, it is not a takeover. Channeling is not a takeover. Channeling is a meld with permission, an agreement with the consciousness of a human being with his own higher self. An agreement that is not hard to make as long as the box he is in of belief and tradition allows it. And if you have been taught that this is not appropriate, it's difficult to channel. It requires that training and practice where it becomes comfortable. For my partner, it's more than comfortable. For he has admitted to wanting to just stay here and not come back. It's a beautiful place where the human being can sit and be for the few moments where the information is delivered. He becomes a translator. He takes my information and linearizes it, and he puts it in his own language. It's a process. The filters that the human being have, which are then developed by the box of his tradition and upbringing, have to be cleared. And then the message will become succinct, as complete as possible, and delivered in a way that makes sense. And that is why I'm giving him 2 times on this one. Dear ones, as you listen to these things this night, they may not all make sense. And so that is why we give the option to listen to them later, perhaps even for them to be transcribed. So that there would be a time when you could sit with them and ponder them. So that you could link them to some of the other bits of information and understand how they are connected. Right now, my partner is connected corporeally with me. and you hear his voice. It is difficult to explain how such a thing could be. Appropriate in all ways, we have told you before. And the ones who are hearing it now are the correct ones to hear it now. And so as I begin this lesson, I want to remind you why we're giving it. For we've never discussed these things in this way. It is time to lay the foundation, the groundwork of the future. And the best way to do it is to give an exposure of how things work inside you. And as we expose these things, we use language that you're not used to, concepts that you haven't really worked with before. And we're aware of that. But it has to start where it has to start. And in the room there are life paths at the moment who are using what we're going to discuss, and some who have no idea what we're going to talk about. That is a respect for the variety of consciousness here, for the steps of learning that you are on. For some of you have been doing this kind of work since you can remember. And others of you are just now awakening to the potentials of who you are. Regardless, we give the story and the teaching as though all of you were on board with all of it. And that is appropriate for the day. There are processes within the human body that are very difficult to explain. They are esoteric processes. We have given you just recently several of them, how they are recalibrating, and just lately, how they work. We started talking about the synchronicity and how it works with the human body, and Gaia, and the guides, and the other side of the veil. We've given you a lecture on the elusive Akash. How does it talk to the cells of your body? Is it in your brain? Is it not? What does it say? And you can hear these messages in the past. We've talked to you about the conceptual belief systems and how they are starting to work in your favor, and how consciousness is becoming less linear. All of these things would seem to be concepts that are high-minded, but some of you are using them right now. There is one in particular which we have saved till now, because it is difficult to explain, and there are revelations today about how it works that we have not said before or explained before. There is a full system that we have channeled to you in the past called the 9 attributes of the human being. These attributes interrelate in a circle. And I want my partner to teach them in the near future. I want him to develop it into at least 3 parts of training, so that people can put them together, see how they're related, and understand themselves better. The 9 attributes, as we have channeled, were 3 groups of 3. Not that difficult. The difficulty starts to see how they relate to each other, and what they are, and what they might mean to you. How they're connected today, but how they will be connected tomorrow. 9 of them. We told you that 3 of them, 1 in each group of 3, have the same name, the higher self. We told you that there was the human corporeal group, the soul group, and the support group, and that the higher self was in each one of those. But the one we want to talk about today is squarely in what we would call the human corporeal group. And yet, like so many of the others, there's more to it than it seems. And the name of it is innate. And so the word innate is going to be a part of the human consciousness that all of you have at the corporeal level, which we are going to discuss today in a way we've never discussed. Telling you only a little bit about it, but enough, hopefully, to tweak your interest and to make you understand that there's more to you than what you think. Innate. Innate has been described in the past as the smart part of your cells. The smart part. Now that might indicate that there's a non-smart part. But let us say it's a more ignorant part. And believe it or not, that ignorant part is your brain. Now the brain perceives many things, and it's a calculator to the max. It's the best memory instrument on the earth today. Everything that you've experienced is in there. It tempers how you behave, what you do, how you act, what you believe, what you think. But let me tell you where it falls short. It doesn't know anything about what's going on in your body. You can intellectualize for a very long time, and yet you will never find out from the brain how your cells are doing. Do you have an allergy to something you have not experienced yet? Perhaps. To a food that you have never tasted. To a chemical you have not seen. How would you know? The innate knows. The innate is the smart corporeal body. It knows everything about everything. It actually is as smart as your brain, but in a different way. So what you do to find out if you're allergic to something is to place that something in your hand and muscle test. And that is called kinesiology. A big word for something very simple. And in the muscle testing, you are using the body's chemistry to give you a yes or no signal about something it knows and you do not. Muscle testing. So in the process of that procedure, do you understand you have acknowledged that there's a part of your body system that knows more than your brain? Oh, it knows a lot more than what you're allergic to, my friend. It is so tuned in to your DNA. It is part of your process. It is part of your evolvement. It's more than even that. Innate. Innate handshakes with your higher self at all the three levels we discussed, and that is difficult for us to describe. But if you put it in a circle chart, you'd draw the lines between them and you'd see what I mean. It's your smart body. Does it find a place in illogic to think for a moment that you'd have some kind of a disease attacking your body, and not know it. Don't you find it odd, human being, that there are certain kinds of diseases that can lurk in you, and you only know it through your discomfort or through your death? And you would never have the signal from your brain except pain. But the innate knows it when it happens. The innate knows it when it entered your body. As the white blood cells go to the places they need to go to fight, and you have no idea, the innate is on alert. What is it and where is it? This is difficult. We told you, dear human being, that the elusive Akash information was not in your brain. You cannot go to your brain to find out who you used to be and when. Because the brain only receives that information as it needs it, as transmitted from your DNA. The innate is the same. It's not in your brain, but it's in every cell of your body, every piece of DNA. But the difference between innate and the Akash is the innate is on top. It is always broadcasting. It's always there. And if you know how to listen to it and where it is, you can tune in. Muscle testing is one way. There are others. Some of you know. Innate is that which responds to acupuncture. Did you know that? Your brain does not. Innate is aware of all things and is broadcasting all the time. It broadcasts so greatly that it flows right into that which you call the Merkaba of the body. Now we're talking about a field around your body that pulses very strongly with information that those who have the ability to see can read. Welcome to the medical intuitive, who can stand before you in various degrees of success and read your innate. They don't have to muscle test to know you've got something going on. They can see it in the field around your body. Now you think that a medical intuitive is looking at your liver or your heart and is doing some kind of analysis because that's what you understand. That's your box. You had no idea that they are sensing the quantum energy that your innate is broadcasting of your health, of what's going on in the chemistry, of what might be developing inside you. It's different than you thought, isn't it? That's the innate. And that's only one of the things that innate does. It's the smart cellular part of your body, but it's not just about that. What I'm going to tell you next, we have given you before. But I wish to explain it better. Your innate is also a governor of what you need. Now turn a page with me. We have talked in the past about mining the Akash. So let us open that door for a moment. Is it possible, dear one, that you could go into the vast storehouse of the attributes of your past lives and pick out something you need today? And the answer is yes. And the way it's done has to pass muster and permission of the innate. Because the innate smart body knows what you need. It is then the governor, the filter of what you can pull out of your Akash and use. And it will say no to frivolous things. and say yes to the things that will allow you to cure yourself of disease, live longer, and increase the percentage of efficiency of your DNA. It doesn't care how you look like you do. He cares about your health. If you want to go into your Akash and pull out something that you need for survival, it's right there with you. If you want to make clearer skin, it isn't. If you see what I mean. It's the governor for mining the Akash. By the way, the Akash is supremely mineable. You have earned what you've lived, dear ones, and it's not in there that far. It's not deep. It all lays in a soup that is available all the time for you. If you have a disease in your body right now, dear one, and you want to mine the Akash in the way that you only would know how, only your consciousness in practice and maturity can work on a problem that is yours only, to mine who you are and who you were, and to bring forward that which would cure it. The innate is responsible for spontaneous remission. For the innate can go in and pull out the things in the Akash and place them into your cellular structure. That's how smart it is. Did you ever sit in a meeting and something is said or a feeling can happen and you get chills? What are they? You would say they are chills of validation. Guess where they came from? The innate. The innate is signaling you truth, not your brain. Dear ones, your brain will get in the way. It's the brain that has the box of belief. It's the brain that has who you are based on experience and memory. It is the innate that knows the truth. One of the attributes of the future human being, and we have given you this before, is to build a bridge between your human consciousness and your innate. It is one of the three things in the cellular part of the 9 attributes, the human energies part, that a bridge can be built so that you don't have to muscle test, so that you can become your own medical intuitive about your own cellular structure. Doesn't that make sense? So when something invades your body that is not appropriate and proper, that your brain would never tell you and that your innate knows about, when the bridge is complete, your intuition will say, there's something different. And you may not know what it is, but you will go to somebody who can help you to know, and it'll be far earlier than waiting for your brain to give you pain, if you know what I mean. That's also innate. Innate does so many things for you. And some of you are starting to get another picture, and this is where I'm going. It's a concept we have not really broached before. We're going to call it something. Please do not misunderstand. You only have one word for this. The word is called brain. So we are going to give you another concept. The innate is your second brain. It doesn't function like your first one at all, but it is smart. And it is intelligent, and it knows what you need, and it's the governor to keep you from picking up the wrong thing. Just like your brain is, in a different kind of way. Let me show you what I mean. Here is a puzzle, a conundrum of medicine. When an accident happens and it severs your spinal cord and leaves you with no feeling or operations from the waist down. There's some interesting things that continue to function. One of them is your heart. Another is digestion. There are others also that function. The organs of the body, many of them, continue to work even though you are told that your brain, your central nervous system, is the one that sends the signals to make them work. And suddenly, the conduit where the signals are sent is broken. So what keeps them going? When you have a heart that depends upon signals from the brain on a regular basis, and the brain is disconnected and it's still going, how do you think that works? And now I'll tell you, because the innate takes over. It's always there. And the organs will function. Even reproduction happens. The heart keeps going. Digestion, it's a second heart. It's a second liver, you might say. Innate is a second brain. And these are the things that sometimes medicine has puzzled over, and I just gave you the answer. There is another intelligence in your body that is smarter about cellular things than your brain is. So now I want to wrap this all up. What are you supposed to do with this information? I want you to get in touch with innate. It's the heart connection, dear ones. The higher self and the innate and human consciousness are the three human energies that need to meld. Human consciousness, higher self, and innate. When DNA starts to work at a higher efficiency, there are bridges that start to be built between these things. You'll start to feel them when you recognize and sense truth. When you start to recognize discernment and cognize it for what it is. When you stop looking around you for answers, and they come from within. When you put down the nonsense of those who would tell you that you were born dirty, or that there are societies trying to control you, or that everywhere you look there's a conspiracy against you, and you start understanding the truth that you are a piece of God on this planet, and you're smarter than that. Because you can discern what is and what is not happening. The human being becomes smarter when the two brains come together. And you're able then to see your own health situation, to catch things before they get out of hand, to know what you need, to know how you need to eat based upon your Akash, who you used to be, and what satisfies the cellular structure the best. Every single one of you has a different diet based upon what works for you. There is no such thing as an enlightened diet, except for you. We've told you these things before, but we never told you where it came from. The innate is smart. Now, as these things start to build a bridge between them, everything starts to change in the questions that you ask in this room, and they're always the same. How can I? Your name goes here. Every single one of you. Well, I like this, but how can I? Fill in the blank. I want to go here. I want to know this. How can I? Fill in the blank. And the day is coming when you never have to ask. Any more than today when you would ask, how do I get from A to B? You don't stop somebody on the street and ask them how to walk. You don't ask somebody how to get in your car or where it's going. That is you with you, and you got it figured out. But when it comes to esoteric things, you don't. And you feel you're in the dark. And there's missing pieces. When these things start to meld, the missing pieces will start to fill in, and you're going to be a lot smarter about you. And one of the things that's going to occur is you'll know you're not from here. You're from the great central sun. You're where I am from. You'll know that you're eternal. You'll know that you've had more than only one life. And it'll be something that you know, just like innate knows it. And not something you're trying to intellectualize with the computer in your head. It's the heart connection to the max. Innate is what creates emotion. Let me tell you, dear ones, innate helps you fall in love. It gives you energies that you can't explain that make you just a little nuts. And nobody can explain that. And innate knows all about it. It changes every cell of your body. It's able to ring true. There's nothing like it. Can you see how innate will serve you? And how it shakes hands with the higher self and knows about God and you. And this has been our story for this day about something in you you may have not known the extent of it, what it is, how it works, how important it is. And it's you with you. It's not an entity inside you, dear ones. It's you, the smart part of yourselves. And so it is.
Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. Spirituality meets science, you say. Or science meets spirituality, you say. And in these closing moments, and they won't be long, I want to give you the rest of the story. An explanation for some of you that you've been waiting for 29 years. And some of it's science from a channeler. It starts to shake hands in a way you didn't expect. It creates a coherence of consciousness and belief, understanding of something that so many had no idea of. No idea. I present in just a moment even a question to the science. The ones who are here, the ones on the stage, and I take it to another level. I'm asking my partner to go slow because I want this to be correct. 29 years ago, when my partner started to channel Kryon, me, this consciousness in the field, which represents perhaps the voice on the other side of the veil that perhaps is connected to a higher source, perhaps even that which is the creative source. 29 years ago. And when I came in, I announced to my partner that which he didn't understand and those around didn't understand. Comical to some, to many, even to my partner for a while.
That was the magnetic master. He laughed. He didn't understand. He accepted it. He didn't understand. And now I'll tell you what it means. Dear ones, the scientist Greg, who just left this stage, pointed out something absolutely remarkable. Proof, absolute proof, that human consciousness changes physics. That is a metaphysical reality now. It used to be postulated by those who would call themselves the pseudoscience of the New Age. And now the satellites operated by the government have shown it to be true. And what was the driving force behind that change in the microtesla measurement of the strength of the magnetic field? And it was compassion at 9/11. So there is an absolute correlation, is there not, between that which is the physics of Earth, magnetics, and consciousness and compassion. They're linked. They're linked. For the first time you saw it. They're linked. Now follow this logic for a moment. Does it make sense to you, perhaps, that the magnetic grid, therefore, Gaia, therefore, might be a partner with humanity? Does it make sense that perhaps the field itself is something that can be touched through the heart? You got it measured with satellites, dear ones. For those of you who doubt the channeling or anything about it, I'm about to give you some facts, and I will explain the magnetic master. When I came in, the first message I gave my partner, the one that was recorded over and over, the one that made the book in 1993, the reason I was here was to adjust the magnetic field. I told you that the magnetics of this earth, as measured by a compass, not the strength, the alignment, would change more in 10 years than it had in 100. And those who paid attention know it did. It changed. And during those years, you might remember something. Those mammals who would beach themselves constantly, where they never did before. The whales that would go into the surf, where they never did before. And then you find out later that they navigate with their own compasses inside themselves. The magnetite in their very brains is a GPS that they use. And when the grid started to shift, and the compasses started to also show it was shifting, even the whales didn't know. How many of you realize and remember that runway numbers in airports are compass headings? Now go do your research. How many of them had to be repainted in the last 29 years? And the answer is most. Most. Because the realignment of the magnetic grid, be careful, my partner, the realignment of north, not the strength, the realignment of north and where it positioned changed the angle of the toroid. If you're into science, if you paid attention in the last hour, I just gave you a secret. You were heading into, that was the precession of the equinoxes, and in the field we saw you making it. There was no question. Oh, it was in the late 80s and I arrived. You were making it. The Soviet Union fell over. disarming so much that was there before. You were going to pass the marker, just like the ancients said. There was so much excitement in the field. I'm telling you something. Listen. And the magnetic grid had to be realigned because you were going to stay. And the realignment caused a correlation between that toroidal shape, and you. And the field started to be a lot more commensurate with what you were going to do with compassion. This is why I came. There will be some who understand what I'm saying and some who don't. I don't know whether those who measure things, like the scientist Greg said, ever thought about the alignment of the toroid and where it was in 89 and where it was in the year 2001. And whether that toroidal alignment would make any difference at all in that which is the marriage in the field between consciousness and physics. It goes both ways, you know. The alignment of the field allows for greater compassion. Now you know why I'm the magnetic master. What does that tell you about what possibility it is that I exist as I exist? Or that my message is my message, and what is it if it is true, and if all of this channeling business is real? What does it tell you the message is? And that's the second and last part of this message. It tells you that whatever you want to say about spirit or God or source, whatever you want to say about it, it is paying attention, because it is inside every single human being, and it wants to coordinate everything on this planet so that you'll find it and know it's there, so you'll find it and know it's there. That realignment is so you can see it and work it and get to this place in the hero's journey called peace on earth quicker than you could before, ever before. This alignment is new. No other civilization had this alignment. Now you know who I am. I continue the rest of the story. The scientists can only bring you to a certain place. The best of the best. Smart as they are, they can only bring you to a certain place. It can explain. The charts and the graphs can show the field is real. It exists. It may even be stronger today than ever before. Now that's supposition, but I will tell you it is, because of the realignment of the toroid. But they can only bring you to one place, and they can tell you about it. They'll talk to you about the coherence. They'll talk about the strength of the coherence. They'll talk about what the field might be, the timelessness of it. How can you have something all around you that is timeless when you are in a linear time frame? How is that possible? And I'll ask you this: do you believe that God is all around you? Do you believe that there is a multidimensional force, if you want to call it that lives with you, inside you, that you call God or Spirit and knows your name? And the answer is yes. You do. You wouldn't be in the audience otherwise. And so the explanation of the field starts to sound like the explanation of spirit, doesn't it? Just a little. They only can take you to one place. They talk about the void. What is the void? They want to put you in the void with meditation so that you can at least understand that there is a place you can go to which has love in it. But they can only take you so far. I want to take you the rest of the way. I can do it if you believe it. If you're tapping your toe and can hardly wait to go to dinner, this isn't going to work for you. Give me 3-4 minutes, just a few minutes, to try to explain to you what actually is in the void. There are many in here who believe in that which you would call a reincarnated experience. Dear ones, you never die. Your soul is eternal, and it comes because the body wears out. Simple. Simple. And so that which is you, your name goes here, occupies many bodies over centuries of time. This is not a New Age belief. If you take a look at the most intuitive belief systems that originated on this planet, go back as far as you can and find the texts of the belief of those Hindus and those Buddhists thousands of years before your prophets. What was the staple of their belief? And the answer is the soul returns. Intuitive, common sense, spiritually made sense. Until it got changed, watered down, until you threw Gaia away and you have what you have today. Dear ones, there's a reawakening of this potential. And those who sit and listen right now, most of you understand you've been here before. Turn the page. Were you always one gender? And the answer is no. There is a system of gender shift. It makes sense so that all of you will participate with your Akash in the compassion of the other. So that in this lifetime or others, when you meet and fall in love, you will be able then at some level to relate to the other. And you do. Studies about the masculinity in women or the femininity in men. Fascinating. But that's not where I'm going. What it means is that every single human in this room and listening to this, every one of you has given birth. Every one. And now I want to talk to you about that moment. That moment. A moment that surpasses any moment that a human being can ever have with love and compassion. When the mother first looks at the infant that has just emerged from her, the soul which awakens and takes those breaths, and looks into the eye of the infant, if you could measure it, everything lights up. If you could measure it, the field can be felt by those in the room. They'll never get used to it. Ask those who deliver children. They never get used to it because that is so infectious. Love and compassion of that size. You look into the eyes of the infant for the first time. What do you say? Mom, what could you say? What could you say? Welcome to Earth. I'm going to be with you all your life. You're going to say that. It says, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to love you. I'm going to do everything I can to keep you here. There is no measure to this. If you had a love meter, it'd be broken. There's no measure. Now, if you can participate in this just for a moment and go there just for a moment, whether you're male or female, you'll all experience this. Emerging from you, life, put on your chest, open its eyes, and there he or she is. Oh. Now, I want you to double that feeling. I want you to triple that. I want you to square it. I want you to put it on the Richter scale. I want you to logarithmic it. And then you'll know a piece of the love that is in that void. Coming from that which some don't even believe exists, and that is a central creative force that has put you here, not by accident, who knows your name, loves you unconditionally, and knows of your magnificence, and looks into your eyes, waiting for you to open them. Waiting to say, I know you, I'm going to take care of you. I don't want you to be sick. Until your last breath, I'll hold your hand and love you so much that you'll be safe for life. The scientists can't go there. They just aren't allowed to. They're not allowed to go there with the charts and the graphs and all that they have, but I can, you see. I'm a channeler. Lee is a channeler. I'm Kryon. And here's what I want to tell you. Not only does this love exist, listen, use the logic. If you can love a child the way you do and it goes off the scale, what do you think is the scale of the love of God for you? And something is happening in this new energy. And here's what I want to get to. This love, this amazing discovery that there is a hand out and waiting for you to take it with free choice, this discovery that you have to make is stronger in this energy because of this realignment of this grid, because of this angle of the toroid, in this science, in this coherence than it's ever been before. And it calls to you like it never has before. And that's why there are so many people in this room and listening to this. These meetings didn't have this kind of attention before, did they? 30 years ago, did they? What has happened recently to bring you to this chair to even listen to this possibility? You came for science, you're getting love. And then you find out that love may be a complement of science. Did you ever see a tree that had the sunlight just perhaps coming in a certain way and only for a little while, and you see the tree then over a period of years start to bend to the light? That's what I want you to know. Due to this realignment, due to these studies, due to this now correlation between consciousness and magnetics and physics, due to all of this, you're starting to bend to the light. You're starting to see it. You're starting to want it. You want to know more about it. You can't define non-linearity. By its own common sense definition, it's tough for a linear mind to define something that is not linear. And so the plea is this: don't figure it out. Let it be. Go ahead and figure out the charts and graphs, dear ones. That's why you came. But draw the line when it comes to that, which is the incredible love of God for you in this moment. Your name is known. You're not here by accident. Don't figure it out. Don't say how much, when, where, what do I do? Which way do I face for this to happen? How many steps do I climb? Just say that to your infant? Looking in his eyes, her eyes, and just say, I'm going to take care of you, but you're going to have to do some things for me. No. And neither did God when you were born magnificent in this planet. Neither did Spirit, neither did this central creative source ever look at you and said, I would love to love you completely, but you got to go over here, you got to know this person, you got to do this, you got to join this. That's not the way it works. I want every one of you, as I close right now, to understand the reality of this message. You have seen the tip of the iceberg all these days with all of these charts, the graphs, the proof over and over that you can change you biologically, conscious, proof after proof after proof. And now, the rest of the iceberg, you've got help. Not just help, Does it make sense that if the peace of God in you is really the peace of God, if it's really there, it belongs in the field communicating with a parent who has opened its eyes and looked at you and says, I'm going to take care of you as long as you live. Now, in the next life, take my hand. Come on, take my hand. Try it, see what it's like. But that's the free choice. To cognize what I'm saying or not. The same number of angels will walk out with a doubter as the one who is healed in the chair right now. I know who's here, and I know who's walking out different. And this completes the picture of this particular entire series of meetings. It completes it. It's a circle. All saying the same thing. The science and the spirituality, someday there'll be a word that encompasses both. Because the Creator made you and this planet just like you are, knows who you are. But the love and the compassion that is there when you bend toward it just a little bit, it's so infectious. It's like when you bend toward it, it lets you reach out and take your hand, and you'll never forget it. You'll never forget it. You'll never forget it. And you'll never be the same. That's why I came. Perhaps that's why you came too. And so it is.
Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.